Hi everyone. Happy week 15. We've almost done it. This week we are talking about termination. This has been a chapter I have been not super excited about. Termination, I think, brings up a lot of anxiety for me. I had the same therapist from age 6 to 14. And so I never knew what termination looked like until then. And since then, I've had the same therapist from 14-ish until now. So I like to stick with my therapist for as long as possible. And so I think termination for me is a little scary. So I was not really excited about this chapter. That says a few things about me that I should probably work on. But what brings me the most anxiety about termination, other than the whole process, would probably be anticipating the emotions that a client might have. Not necessarily dealing with those emotions, but just like that anticipation of knowing that those things might come up and what that might look like for different people. The textbook talks about clients might be angry, they might bring up old problems that they want to work on, or they might avoid you in general. I think the easy parts of termination might be the evaluation stage, or like planning on maintaining goals. But determining when to terminate and resolving those emotions might be a little bit more challenging. About 7 weeks into my practicum, the clinician I was working with had put in their notice. So I got a front seat view to what termination looks like. Not only was I watching her terminate from her clients and getting to sit in on those appointments, but also having to terminate as well because I was being transferred to a different residential facility. And I definitely did see some angry responses, and a lot of people avoided us, knowing that it was our last few weeks. So it was interesting to kind of see that process before I really got to terminate, so to say, at the end of the year. I definitely think because of that experience, I will be more equipped in the spring when I do have to terminate than maybe I would have been without that experience. Some of the things that the clinician said and kind of told me to say during the termination process was things like, there are still people here to support you. You have learned so many skills during our time together. And the clinician also made it very personal and said things like, I will miss working with you, or I have really enjoyed our time together and I'm sad that I have to leave. I do remember there was a few clients that were like, if you're sad to leave, why are you leaving? Kind of that pushing boundary that the kind of seeing if the provider really cares. That's what the textbook talks about. And I think the clinician that I worked with did a really good job of just saying no, I do really care about you. This isn't a good fit for me right now. But again, if you're leaving or this is something that needs to be terminated, something else that you could say would be, no, I do really care about you, but I think, our time isn't necessary here anymore, or we have met the goals that we were intended to meet. It would just kind of depend on the scenario, though. Something I've grown in this semester, this was really hard, and it, I guess it wasn't really hard to think about, but I had to really dig into the textbook and kind of think about some of those things that I have worked on in my practicum. I think that I have really grown in my responses and reactions to people and clients and what they're saying. I have really tried to hone in on the kind of questions that I'm asking and those open-ended questions. And in my final evaluation, I heard some really good feedback about that, so I was pretty proud about that. Another thing that I have grown in is displaying authenticity. I would say the first couple weeks, I was very scared about self-disclosure and kind of my comfortability about talking with people. And now I would say I'm very honest with people, and if I don't know something, I very clearly let them know that, and I let them know that I will find someone who does, or that we can go find that person together. I could go really deep into that, but I'm also watching the clock here. So something that I want to work on next term, would I want to improve on my group skills, group facilitating skills. That is something that I have planned, that I'm nervous and excited for. And then something else is different modalities, such as like motivational interviewing that the textbook talked about last chapter. I'm really hoping that next term we get to learn a little bit more about modalities. I'm pretty sure if not next term, it would be next year. But I'm kind of excited to maybe integrate some of those things that we're learning into the real world. Yeah, so have a good week. Good luck on finals.